Hey, Frequent Flyer, episode 4. We are back. I apologize for the delay, for the long space in between episodes. So there were some things that couldn't work out scheduling wise with a couple guests. So I just said, you know what? We've been winning a couple games. Let's just hold off, right? Let's just go live and let's see if the Flyers can keep this thing going all the way to the NCAAs. And let's do the episodes, down the line. Listen, I've reached out to potential guests, future guests that I think you guys will enjoy conversation with. So I've been planning. I've been planning strategically, trying to get the guest list ready to go so we can just start knocking these things out. Appreciate y'all patience. So like I alluded to, a lot's going on in these 4 weeks. Flyers went on really good run, but again, just a few plays down the stretch in that Atlantic 10 quarterfinal against St. Joe's. Couldn't pull it out, man. So all in all, I mean, I was frustrated, to watch how that game unfolded. But 90, I can relate to that a little bit. But you get an opportunity to play again. You get an opportunity to put the jersey on. So for the seniors, Nate, Zed, Posh, uh, Brady, I think that's everybody, right? Enoch. But again, we have guests coming on for this first episode back. I had to bring in my guy. You've seen it before. My guy, Mr. Nick Stafford. Nick, what's going on, bro? Welcome back.
Hey, brother, how you doing, man?
I'm good, dog. I'm good. Listen, it's been like a month since I jumped on and did an episode. So,
Man,
how you been though? You been good?
I've been good, man. I've been good. Spring
Good.
is finally here. It's getting warm out here. Bust out the short weather.
That Northeast, yeah, it takes a while for y'all to thaw out up there. Down here, we already been warm a little bit. So,
Supposed to be like 70 tomorrow, so I'm excited about that.
okay, good. But hey, listen, man. So we gonna get right into our guest. This guy, you actually played with for a quick stint when you got to Dayton. The PG before I got to Dayton, and somebody who I kind of watched once I committed. So let's go ahead and bring him in, man. He is number 19 on the scoring list, and he's number 7 in assists all time at UD. It is the one and only Ramod Marshall. What's going on, Ramod? How you doing, bro?
What's going on, fellas, man? I'm doing all right, man. I appreciate y'all having me on, man. I really do.
Good.
For sure, man. Listen, I kind of highlight a little bit of, some facts that people might not know. You top 20 all time in scoring there at UD, number 19, man, 1,538 points.
It was top 15 when I left, but y'all, some of y'all
okay. Since 03, since 03, 04. Okay, there's been a few guys. Yeah, there's been a few guys that's come on and did their thing. So, okay,
Absolutely.
respect to that. And then number 7, all right, with assists, man. So, again, man, I had to have you on a couple reasons. One, the Charlotte connection. You know what I'm saying? You're down here in Charlotte. I'm down here with you. And then I also said you were the PG before I even, got to Dayton. So it's kind of like passing the torch a little bit. And I had to pay homage, man, and bring you on. So I know Nick's got a question for you about kind of everything before UD.
Yeah, man. So Charlotte boy, when I first met you, when I got to UD, at the time, I mean, you were the only person from Charlotte to play UD. I don't think there's been anybody since. So walk me through, the genesis. I mean, Charlotte basketball. Obviously, Carolina basketball is big. What was it like in Charlotte? That got to be different.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's funny you asked me that because we have been having some conversations. Some of the guys I grew up with, and they were talking about some of our little league teams that was kind of legendary. We won 69-0 from the age of 7 to I think it was 11 or 12.
Wow.
And so they've been finding old footage and we're trying to put something together. But anyway, at the time, it was only 2 AAU teams in Charlotte that you could play for. It was either the Sonics or the Royals. So imagine the whole city. At that time, you had to be nice. It wasn't, every AAU team got 20 in the neighborhood, and it was 2 teams. Yeah. And the only thing that the Sonics did do, they would have a blue and a gold team. So each age group, for the most part, gold team was typically the A team, and the blue team, was typically the B team. But so at that point, it was very competitive. At the time, I played for the Mill Road Boys Club. So we would play other boys clubs in the city, but we'd also play from Amy James to Tuckasegee to Belmont to whoever, we would just go around and play. But because we was winning so much, we would get invited to tournaments. So we would play all over the state in Thomasville and different areas. So from that leading into AAU, that was just kind of, we stayed a tight-knit group. So the same team I played with in rec at the Millrail Boys Club, we pretty much played together in AAU as well. You try to stay together. A few guys would get put on the blue team or have to go to the Royals or something. But for the most part, we kept a nucleus. And so it kind of just went from there. And we just all just kept playing and then into high school and stuff like that. So that was pretty much, it was real back then. You couldn't you had to be one of the nicest in the city to even be on that circuit.
But I can see that because it wasn't, that many, kids around or many teams, I guess, back in that time. So.
And even with, when I said about school, rec ball and AAU, I didn't say anything about camps. Like, we didn't know anything about camps. Mm-hmm. Nobody was saying, we need to go here, go there. Only time we started to really hear about it is when we got to about 16, 17. We had a guy on our AAU team named Jason Parker. He ended up going to Kentucky. He was a McDonald's All-American. And so me and him was tight. So from him being on AAU team, then, a lot of those recruits and different guys started to say different things to us. But for the most part, we just did the AAU. We didn't really do none of the camps, nothing like that. So for his ranking and stuff like that, we didn't really get the chance to really get in there like that because we just didn't have them looks.
Right. Yeah. Gotcha. You just did a little AAU stuff, and then you get to high school. Garinger, all right, over there by Sugar Creek. Yeah, Eastway. We talked a little bit before. My son, he played AAU a little bit right now. We practice over there at Garinger. I didn't really even know you went there until, doing a little research. So I'm like, oh, shoot, I know a little bit about in there, man. So you used to get buckets in there, huh? Obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. Now the one thing about it, Garinger we was called Eastside High. So I don't know if y'all seen Lean on Me or whatever, but we always had we always had the kind of bad reputation. When I look back on it, it was kind of true. But when you in it, but when you in it, it don't feel like that. It just feel like just people that you grew up with. The one good thing about it though, I played baseball, football, and basketball. I actually played baseball all the way up to my junior year. Okay. And football, I was nice all the way up to junior high, but then I went to Garinger, and Garinger, the football team is absolutely horrible. Yeah, it's horrible.
You got it.
And so the basketball, that was the highlight. That was, the same kind of group of guys, not all of us, but the same kind of group of guys. We were at Garinger, and so we were the kind of highlight of the school that actually had success or whatever. So this is going to date me back. We went to junior highs. We didn't have middle schools. So we was from kindergarten to 6th grade, then from 7th grade to 9th grade. So when I started high school, it was 10th grade.
Got it.
Oh, right.
Okay. No, we had junior highs too. We did it just from 7th to 8th though.
Right. So we didn't even start high school till 10th grade. Then at Garinger, the head coach at the time, he didn't believe in having sophomores on the team. So you had to play JV. And mind you, our whole JV squad would whoop the varsity every time that we scrimmaged.
Chill.
Right. So, we always felt the way, but, it was kind of one of those things that just has always been, and that's just what it was. Yeah. So by our junior year, we were decent, but it still was some guys that were mixed in our crew because, we was waiting to take over. And then our senior year, we end up, I know at one point we was like 2nd or 3rd in the state, but then we had a nemesis, West Charlotte, that sadly, I have to say, we just couldn't get over the hump. That guy I mentioned earlier, Jason Parker, who was a McDonald's All-American. He was the senior. He ended up going to Kentucky. And then they had a guy named Keith Mackins, who was Mr. Basketball of North Carolina, football and basketball. So we and we didn't have, at the time, to be honest with you, we didn't have a D1 player because at that time, I wasn't considered a D1 player either. So, we had a decent year, but we got knocked out in the States by them. And from that point, like I said, we was considered Eastside High. So we didn't have a lot of opportunities. It wasn't a lot of recruits coming in. And at that point, I had some letters, but they type letters. So I'm just in the system. It ain't like someone is really pursuing me. And to lead into how I got out for is moving on basketball wise, we played West Charlotte in the conference championship. And I had a pretty good game. And so after the game, we ended up losing at the end. But I remember after the game, it was this kind of smaller white guy. that was talking to my coach. But at the time, you know, I didn't know who it was. I'm mad that we already lost. So at this point, I'm just not really paying much attention. And so I just walked by him and he introduced himself, but I kind of blow him off in a way. I just speak and just keep it moving. And so I said, a couple of weeks later, I'm at school and I happen to see from a distance coach walking with that same smaller white guy, but now it's an older white guy in a military suit with him. So I'm kind of like, you know, thinking, all right, that's that same guy. You know, maybe he's talking about, honestly, somebody else on our team. I was always considered like the fourth guy. Like they never really gave me any recognition in the paper. I think because I used to sacrifice for is checking the best player, making the right pass. I never was the guy that was going out there trying to score 40. I would, you know, average about 15, 16 points at the most, but I was kind of the glue guy doing everything. So I never really got the recognition. So I'm thinking he's there for one of my teammates maybe. And so coach called me into his office and they started talking to me. And then lo and behold, that older guy in the military uniform, he was Coach Fletcher Eric, the legendary coach at Fort Union Military Academy.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
And so the shorter white guy was Coach Pete. He's the guy who goes around the country and he just kind of looks for diamonds in the rough. The guys who are just not getting recruited, and he gets them to these prep schools and stuff like that to get them opportunity. So he had saw me at that game. And so at the time, again, me being from Charlotte and just kind of inner city kid, military school didn't sound like something I was trying to do.
Listen, I don't care. You from Charlotte, from Springfield, Mass, from, it don't matter where you from. You hear that, it's like, oh, you gotta get your stuff together to go there, or they gonna get it together for you. One of the two.
Right. So, but at the time, again, I can't really necessarily blame it on our school, but they didn't help. Grades wasn't the best. We were just doing the most just to get by, just to play. And so SAT had to be high. So that's when they introduced to me about going to this prep school. I could retake classes, know how that goes. And so what they do at Fort Union, you have to go up there and you have to play against the current team that's there. So it's different guys across the country. Y'all play on the same team against the team that's up there. And they literally just sit back and just watch. There's no structure to it. It's just like open court, open gym. You just play. So me and a guy named Trelo Galloway from Myrtle Beach, we actually rode up together. He was another guy that he was trying to get on. So we went up there, felt like I played pretty well. So when we're riding back, you know, we kind of asked him like, you know, what coach say? And so he was like, well, he told me one of y'all already made it, but he ain't sure about the other. So I was smart enough to understand the guy I'm riding with, he's 6'7", 6'8", you know, athletic. Now I'm feeding him the rock. He catching alleys and it's from me, but that's going to be the highlight. So you already know. So luckily, from AAU, we was playing in the state championship. Actually, it was on my prom night. So I, you know, my girl missed dinner. We missed dinner, all that, but I had to play in that first. And and Coach Eric came to the game. You already know I had to show out. And so that was the game that he pretty much decided to bring me on. And then I ended up at Fort Union.
Oh, that's what's up.
Wow.
We went down and played Fort Union when I was in prep school. And
who you play with?
Worcester Academy up in Worcester, Mass.
Well, I'm going to get to that. Being not at Fort Union, but I ended up playing y'all. So we'll get to that. Go ahead.
And the way y'all set up people, man, is if you don't know about Fort Union, where it's located, look it up. So we went down there and our coach had to stay in the barracks. And the barracks is right underneath the gym.
Right.
When you say when he had to stay, what do you mean he had to stay?
Well, no, we're the visiting team. And the closest hotel is miles away. And so we had to stay in the barracks.
It's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
I've heard it, but I just never realized or like looked it up. Like, oh, where's Fort Union? I just hear the name, but I just never looked that up.
Yeah,
bro. So, I'm talking about if you decide, if you want to just rebel and say I'm walking off, you're gonna think to yourself, where am I going? Like there's nowhere to go. You know what I'm saying?
You're gonna turn around real quick.
Yeah. So we had to stay in those barracks, boy, and sleeping on those cots. And I was like, this is not for me. Imagine a bunch of guys, 6'7", 6'8", a basketball team staying in the barracks.
Right. And what people don't understand, like when I say I went to a military school, you really lived that life. We had to wake up at 5:30. I'm talking about to a trumpet, not an alarm, the trumpet outside. You had to be up and ready in 10 minutes, and you had to have two finger spaces between your hangers in your closet. Your bed had to be neat. You had to be out there, and now you got to stand at attention, so they got to count everybody to make sure nobody went AWOL. Then you got to march to get breakfast. Like, it was the whole shebang, bro. So, I mean, you're doing marching practice, you're doing rifle practice, You do everything. You doing all of it, waxing the floors, everything, brother. The one thing about it, though, I have to say this, because you are doing those things, your only thing on your mind is hooping. Because that's the one break that you get.
Right.
So once you get that break, you just so locked in because it's just your time to be able to do
That's
something
your
that
release.
you actually like
That's
doing.
your kind of
Right.
release.
Yeah.
Right. So you stay
Man.
stay looking for reasons to go to the gym because that's kind of always a good excuse. You ain't gonna get out of much, but if you can get out of something, that'll be the place that you can go.
Wow. When you break it down, like this is what y'all doing every day.
And
Like, for real.
and no females.
Oh yeah. As a teenage boy too, like y'all just
Oh
out there
my
just
God. Man, I'm
tough.
talking about the closest place to really see some females. One way 45 minutes is Charlottesville, which was basically like the only thing there is Virginia, University of Virginia. And then most time we would go to Richmond. And Richmond had a mall, and because we played ball, we didn't have the same, if you was just a regular student, you would be able to like pretty much leave Saturday and Sunday. As long as you came, you came back at a certain time. For the basketball team, pretty much Sunday was the only day that we would kind of have some days that we could get out for a couple of hours. So we would just go to the mall and try to pick something up, try to slide them to the movies.
I get
You know
it.
what I mean?
Wow. Nah, just man. So okay, so you get there and you spend just your senior year there?
Yeah. So I just repeated my senior year. So it was just a prep year. So technically I was on the postgraduate team, but I was a I was a senior.
Got it.
And so when you first get there, Coach Eric, he knows everybody, bro. Rest in peace to him. He knew everybody from Coach K to, you could be in his office and literally he'd be on the phone with Coach K or Bill Guthridge, like all the top guys. Shamon Williams went to Fort Union. Matter of fact, Garnett went there for a few weeks, but his mom is Jehovah's Witness, so she wouldn't with some of the stuff that they did on Sundays. So she pulled him out. There's been a lot of legendary guys that came. So when you first get there, he asked what school you want to go to. Now, when I say, you can say Carolina, Duke, all that, and you might not even be on that level, but if you say it, he's going to get them there to watch. So you have these things that they call coaches' nights. On a Saturday, as the team, we just come in and literally we just play pickup. So the 2-point guards, we pick squads, and then all the coaches sit on the sideline. And I'm talking about you see everybody from ACC, SEC, everybody just sitting there just chilling. All of them, and it's almost like they just kind of talking amongst themselves, but they paying attention. So he giving you your opportunity.
Is this in the summertime and like when is like kind of
this is
whenever
when we report in on I think it was like August we got there. Pretty much within that first month or two when we're ratcheting up for basketball.
Yeah.
That's the beginning part of the season that is part of us, getting in shape and all that. And this would be like a Saturday night at like 7 or something like that.
Gotcha.
And Fort Union, the way they set it up, it's all about getting you to the next level. So they're gonna try to get every school that you possibly can get to see you. And then at the same time, when you play, it does not matter. From 1 to 12, everybody's playing. That's just a standard. It does not matter. Like at the beginning of the game, he'll say point guards. You got he may say you got 6 minutes. You're sitting for 2. So that means, I might play 4 minutes and then I'm sitting for. So you know what I'm saying. So you have to kind of like when you get in there, you got to do your thing. You ain't got time to be playing. He's very meticulous. He makes you wear a jock strap. I'm talking about in the middle of practice, he'd be talking about something. He'd be like, check, and he literally
just
wants
go around
you
and
to
just go around and
no,
start
he ain't
hitting
actually
people?
He ain't doing that. It's more like you might have to pull the little string just showing you got it on.
Show. Yeah.
And so everything, 2 inches above your socks had to be 2 inches above your shoe. Like everything was about being in order and being very focused on the task, not about the swag, not about none of that. When we would play, like I said, we would do that minutes thing. And so even though it was frustrating, like I said, it did kind of have you tight though, because as soon as you got in, you didn't waste time. And so the one thing about it though, at the end of the year, every guy that was on our team went to a D1 school.
That's what's up.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, did
So
they
all
last?
of that works.
Yeah. So it does work. It does work. That's when, and I don't know if y'all know this, I signed with the University of Georgia first.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I signed with Georgia when I was at Fort Union. And so
Wow.
I went to Fork Union. I left Fork Union, went to Georgia. That summer, I went down there just to, you know, you can go before your freshman year, just working out, stuff like that. So as I'm doing that, they had fired Coach Jerser, Ron Jerser. You remember Ron Jerser? Nick?
Yeah.
He was the head coach at Georgia. He had took over for Tubby when Tubby went to Kentucky.
Yep.
So Ron had one season with Georgia. They went 20-15. I don't know if y'all remember Jermaine Jones. He was kind of the man for them.
Oh,
then.
yeah.
But but Jerser, my recruiting class, we was the number 2 recruiting class in the country at the time. It was me. Y'all remember? I don't know if you know Ezra Williams. It was a guy named with the Florida. Darnell Harvey.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Harvey. Oh yeah.
So we was all supposed to be going to Georgia, but then they fired Coach Jerser and they brought in Jim Herrick. He had just left from Rhode Island with Lamar Odom.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
But at this time he had a reputation already for, you know, doing whatever. So
that's funny.
Yep.
That's funny because I'm gonna let you finish, but I got a story with that too.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yep.
So I, you know, at this point, you know, go down there and meet him, you know. So we playing and stuff, and so we had a guy that was also in the recruiting class, 7-footer named Nathan Pop. And the funny story, he watched us scrimmage, and we was trying to get some of the old guys, and he came down there and he told Nathan Pop in front of all of us. Now, mind you, this is one of the new recruits. He said, "Son, you can't play in the SEC," and he took him off the team. He ended up going to UNCG. But anyway, I just say that to say how cutthroat Jim Herrick was.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. Okay.
And so, you know, while I'm down there, to be honest with you, I ain't signed with him. And I'm seeing what he own. I know what type of guy he is. So I'm like, I don't know if I really want to go through this. So I end up calling my coach at Fork Union because technically I was a senior. I could go back and be a post grad and not lose a year, because at that time you would lose a year if you went to JUCO. This was like I say about a month before the season gonna start. So come to find out, you know, he didn't really have any spaces. So he was like, "I'll find something for you." So I talked to Jim Herrick, telling him how I just wasn't comfortable. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't recruit me, and he wasn't really personable with us. You know what I mean? You could just tell he probably just waiting for this year to go out and then gonna bring in some more guys. That's the feeling he gave us.
Yeah.
So I talked to him. He wanted me. He was telling me, "No, I really like you. How about this? You go to this JUCO in California with my guy. You play there a year. You come back." At the time, being from Charlotte, California just sounded crazy. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I was like, "Nah, I'm cool." So Coach Eric at Fork Union called me and said, "Hey, I got this prep school in Maine called Bridgeton Academy. You won't get to see it." Yeah, I knew Nick was going to respond to that. And he said, "You know, you won't get to see it, but, you know, I can get you on. They got one spot left." So I'm like, "All right, coach," because I trusted him. So the coach called me from Bridgeton and told me straight to my face, like, "Well, we got one spot left, but you're going to play behind this guy from Denver, this, and that." In the back of my head, I'm like, "Yeah, all right." Me and my family, man, we rolled up. I drove 23 hours up to Maine. And so got dropped off in Bridgeton, Maine. And
let me know. Yeah. What's funny about
No, it's funny,
why
man.
you laughing, man?
You know,
what's going on in Maine, man?
No, nothing's going on in Maine. I mean, at the time, and Ramod could understand, a lot of guys were going up there. Like, what was it, Maine Institute? There was another Maine Institute in Bridgeton. You know, a lot of
Bridgeton and MCI.
Yeah, a lot of talented guys went up there. Did Lamar Odom go up there? I can't remember, but anyway.
What scholar was at MCI when I was at Bridgeton? Karan Butler.
Yes, Karan Butler. I apologize. Karan Butler was up there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of guys that were going up there, similar to what Ramod said, during the post-grad year or just going there, you know, and talented dudes that would go to Division I schools. So I'm just laughing. I mean, Bridgeton, there's nothing there. It's in the middle of nowhere. You're up in Maine.
It's 2% minority in the whole state.
Yeah.
So you never see black people. I'm talking about, and if you do see a black person, it's a guarantee y'all are gonna go up to each other and speak, because y'all gonna be like, "Where are you from?" You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy, bro.
Yeah. But it's good basketball. You know, I don't know if it still is the Knapsack League or that prep school league in New England. I would say probably from like 95 more recently, it was like the top talent, you know, night in, night out. You'd be playing against, 3, 4, 5, 6 Division I players, if not more.
And then
Nah,
the
that's
difference that
wild.
the difference I noticed, like you said up there, it was a bunch of prep schools in that area.
Yeah.
So you played Notre Dame prep, you
Yep.
played Worcester, you played all these different guys. And so the difference at Fort Union, we played a few teams, but Hargrave was the only other school that was near us. So we would play mostly college JVs. So we played like Carolina JV, we played Princeton JV. So we would play a lot of the college JVs. I mean, we mixed in some of the prep schools, but that was the difference. And I will say a lot of those prep schools were a lot better than these college JVs.
Okay, so you go up to Maine from Georgia, right? At that point, UD falls into the picture. Can you just talk about the initial, I guess, introduction to, I guess, the University of Dayton, and who was kind of the catalyst to get you to go to Ohio?
Yeah.
Right. So while I'm in Maine, I'm playing well. I'm making all tournament and all the tournaments we playing in or MVP. So I know I'm doing my thing because you remember the coach said I was gonna be playing behind the guy.
Oh yeah.
That never happened.
That didn't last.
Yeah. No, it didn't even happen. By the first game, I was the starter. But so
Got it.
while we playing, I'm like, but I ain't getting recruited. But the only messed up part about where we stayed at, like, picture being in a college dorm, or I would say more of an apartment complex, and it's only one payphone. So a lot of the calls are not going directly to us; they're going to the coach. Now I'm kind of fast forwarding, and we end up finding out that the coach is having a whole bunch of letters and a whole lot of conversation with people that we had no clue about. But all that'll come together, what I'm about to say. So
Gotcha.
we play in the MCI tournament, and I get all tournament and all that. So, but we lost the game to go to the championship. So I'm watching the championship game, and as I'm watching the championship game, lo and behold, Ron Jerser walks in, and so when he sees me, of course we embrace and talk, and he like, "What you doing here?" And I'm like, "What you doing here?" He like, I'm at the University of Dayton now, and I'm recruiting. And he's like, "I thought you was at Georgia." And I'm like, "Nah." I told him a little story, and I was like, ain't nobody recruiting me. He was like, "That's why nobody's recruiting you, because you're not on the scene. People think you at Georgia." Because mind you, I left like a week before.
Right. Okay.
And so at that point, that's how Dayton was introduced to me. So now they're on my radar because I fooled with Coach Jerser heavy. So, but at the time, being honest, I had never heard of them before. And so
right.
that year they were pretty good. I think they beat Kentucky that year. And I know they ended up making it to the NCAA, and I don't know if they lost in the first round or second round, but they had a very decent year. And so at this point now, I am starting to get recruited, but I'm getting recruited late because, again, going back to the coach was not telling us stuff. He was kind of trying to get us to go to places he wanted up in that area. So he was trying to get me to go to like Northeastern or Boston U. And I didn't know Boston College was trying to recruit me super heavy. There was a bunch of schools, that was trying to recruit me, but again, we didn't get this information.
He was filtering all the stuff, all the contacts, all the letters. Like, he was literally just hoarding it and just like not letting y'all see it.
Wow.
Bro, I'd say probably a month before we left that prep school, he called us all to the office and just started handing us all these big lumps of all these letters and different things that the coaches was writing handwritten and putting their number, because they was like, "We don't have a number to you, this and that." So trust me, it was a big little fallout about that. Wow. That's when I started learning some politics about these things. And so at that point, it was kind of like, I was so tired of being in that area. I didn't want to do nothing in Boston. I think Troy Bell was at Boston College at the time. And I'm like, I'm not.
He was nice. Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, I didn't think about it as we could be a duo. I just looked at it as, you know what I'm saying? So
you ready to get out of it?
Then I didn't like, right. And then I still wasn't trusting with Coach Harrod because he still wanted me to come back. And so I was like, you know what? This school is, I kind of see like it's kind of coming up. Do I want to be a big fish in a small pond or a small fish in a big pond? That was kind of the mindset. So I was like, you know what? Let me try this out. So when I went on my visit with Coach Oliver Purnell, being a black coach, I already was locked in with Coach Jerser. And then Coach Schmidt was there, Coach Smith. And just, it was kind of like, I just got a good feel. It was like, I think I can come here and really kind of do my thing. I decided to come. Now, the part about being the first one from Charlotte, North Carolina, or North Carolina period, it comes full circle because all my life on the back of a license tag, it says first in flight. and it talks about the Wright brothers. Did not know that the Wright brothers were from Dayton, and that's why it's the Flyers and everything else.
Right,
So,
right,
you know what I'm saying? One of those things.
Hey, that's life, man. It's crazy how stuff happens, man.
Right.
Crazy. But, getting to Dayton and then, obviously your career just, continue to flourish in your 4 years over there. Your last 2 years, let's just jump forward to that where you were on some really good teams. Y'all had, really good success, and you guys were the only team to win the Atlantic 10 championship, right? We saw the Flyers just recently. I thought they had a chance to really make it happen this year, but they fell a little short, man. So I guess talk about, going to the A10. It was in Dayton at the time. So you basically had, somewhat of an advantage playing at home with that. But I guess just take me through, that junior season, the A10 championship.
Yeah, man. What was interesting about that season, my freshman year, I played, I guess you could say point or shooting guard. It just depends on who he subbed me in for. My sophomore year, I was more primarily the shooting guard. Of course, I would take over if they went out, but for the most part, I was shooting guard that year. So junior year really was the first year I was the primary point guard. And I only had really played point guard, truthfully, in my life one time, and that was I shouldn't say one time, twice. That was at Fort Union, and basically started at prep school. In high school, I was like the small forward or shooting guard. I never really was the point. So I remember the first practice, coach handed me the ball, and I remember Coach Purnell just looked at me. He was like, call the effing play. So, I kind of looked at him like, because, I had never really been the guy. So I ain't, and mind you, he didn't give that leeway to Day-Day. He would call a play and Day-Day would call a play. He didn't just say for me to run it. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know I was supposed to just run it. Yeah. So he kind of set the tone like, this your team. From that point on, I ain't gonna lie, the first couple games, man, I kind of struggled because I was playing point guard like how I thought a point guard is supposed to play it. Like just in my mind, like you come down, you set everybody up, you do this, you do that. And I say maybe after about the sixth game, I kind of hollered at Coach P and I'm like, man, this ain't working because I wasn't getting off. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, this, And so we had a talk and he pretty much was like, just be you. Like, so at that point I was like, all right, let me just play point guard the way that it feels natural. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to overthink this. I'm just on whatever. Yeah. So from that point, we started flowing and we started collecting some wins. And it started to feel in the middle of the season like, all right, we got, because we had a great mix of some younger guys with some veterans. Yes. We had a good bench. Brooks Hall, he could shoot. Then we had Keith Wallace-Gossett, Mr. 9 to 5. Yeah, sure. We had him inside. Then we had Big Sean Finn, 7-footer. So we had we had everything for the most part. Then we had a guy named DJ Stelly who was kind of like a microwave. He was right off the bench. He was instantly hot. Yeah, you know what I mean? Uh-huh. And so we just had kind of everything that we kind of needed to be a good team that year. And we beat some good teams that year. We also beat Marquette. That was the number 9 team in the country that had Dwayne Wade on that squad. And matter of fact, people don't know they actually had 4 guys that made it to the league because they had Travis Deaner, the point guard. He made it to the league. I can't remember his first name, but his last name was Novak. He made it to the league.
Steve Novak.
Yeah. And then they had a guy, I'm having a blank excuse. He was a big guy. He didn't play in the league long, but he at least made it. But I just always tell people like that team was stacked.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so we kept going, and then when we finally got to the point where we got to the A10 tournament, at that point we was confident enough to feel like that we could win it. Now David West would give us problems.
He gave a lot of problems.
Early in the year,
not just y'all, but yeah.
Right. Early in the year when we played them at Xavier, I want to say he had 52. And I watched the tape not too long ago. You knew he was pro then. You just knew, you know what I mean? And so it was a great break that Temple ended up knocking them out. And the one thing people don't know,
that's who y'all played in the championship, right? Y'all played Temple.
Right. The one thing people don't know though, until that senior year, we used to handle St. Joe's, so we wasn't worried about St. Joe's at the time.
That's what I wanted to talk to you about too. I know we kind of moving around, but you played against some really. You talked about David West and Xavier. Obviously, St. Joe's, man. Talk about playing against that team, Jameer, Delonte. How was that? I guess prepping for that game and playing that game.
Man, y'all know I got to keep it honest.
Yeah, for sure.
It was. I put it this way: it was always a thing that I look forward to it. But by my senior year, if we're talking about the team that was the most dangerous, that year they went whatever and won, they lost an Elite Eight. The issue was I could tame one, but I couldn't tame the other.
Can't get both. You can't get both. That's what made it tough, man.
Right, and so it was just pick your poison. And, it was just, and then they had other guys that were role players that just knew their role. They were stars in their role. And they was just really one of them times that they just was so in a tight, chemistry wise.
Everything was perfect. Everything was aligned perfectly for them.
Man, I mean, it was
everything was aligned perfectly.
You know how they say
it was unbelievable.
Watch somebody play and they're moving slow, but it's at game speed. It was like watching that with Jameer. It's like, he's moving fast, but for him, it was just so second nature. It was just different, man. It was
the hardest part to guard him was, first of all, he was strong to be so little.
Yeah.
Then on top of that, he knew angles very well. Mm-hmm. When he would always, the step back, that's how he would get his space. And so with his shoulder and then his footwork, you would think you're going to block the shot. Every time you swear, you think you're going to block it. And he would just get it right over your fingertips. Yeah. But for the most part, don't get me wrong. I ain't going to sit here and just give him too much praise. For the most part, when I guarded him, I was able to keep him in wraps.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But don't get me wrong. I remember the last time we played him, he had 17, I had 17. It used to be kind of that type of thing. But
y'all can kind of somewhat
cancel each
balance
other out.
each other out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can cancel each other out.
Right. But yeah, it was time that we played them at Dayton, and we decided that I was going to go with Delonte West. I was going to guard him, and Jameer gave us 34. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? Because, I used to get tired out because at that time, my senior year, I'm not trying to down anybody, but just our guard play, we wasn't as deep.
Got it. Yeah.
Getting back to the championship though, man, to the A10 championship, when we end up playing Temple, at that point, it was kind of like, how you said you had an advantage at being at home. Now, I don't know if it's just me, but I've always liked playing on the road. I always felt like it's more pressure at home. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so
I'm with you on that.
Right. So because it was in Dayton, and now we're in the championship, it was a lot of pressure, but it was also a lot of like, oh, hell no, we're not about to lose at home. And this being the first one in Dayton. And, everything just seemed like it was falling in perfectly for us. And I think at that point, we only had lost 4 games, all year. And so, when we played Temple, people forget they had Marty Collins, which was a pro.
Yeah.
They had, what's my man, Hawkins.
Hawkins.
David Hawkins.
Yeah, he was solid.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
man. So, it was like just one of those games where, it was intense, but we be able to cut those nets and do that NUD arena. Now that was the first time that I can say it was like, all right, we finally, we kind of taking them steps. Cause it was always that mid-major, but now it's like, all right, we starting to really look like a team out here and really get some noise and people starting to pay attention to who Dayton is. And that's when you really start to feel it. You know what I mean? Because we actually had something tangible to say, all right, we done kind of got over the hump.
That's great because about that time, this is when I'm coming up in high school and, I'm getting a sophomore, junior, I'm making a name for myself. I'm starting getting letters and I'm trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to be doing? And so my junior year and, Dayton's really in the mix for me. I know, I came down, Shaka Smart. I walked the campus with him as a junior in high school. And I'm like, all right, this is cool. And in Toledo, there was never really a big coverage presence for Dayton or Dayton Flyers or anything. We worried about Detroit, or Cleveland, Ohio State, obviously, Michigan, being up that way. So Dayton, again, similar to you, wasn't never really on my radar. But as I started getting further in my process, I started to pay attention. And so that's obviously your, junior and really your senior year, because that's when I committed. So that's when I really started to take a look and watch. And I'm like, yo, who is this? Who is this number 3? Like he kind of smooth. He lefty, quick,
Man,
he
you
got
was
a little
cold,
pull
brother.
up. I'm like, okay, yeah, he's smooth. Like he play at a pace, like he's smooth. You can't really speed him up. And I started paying attention. I'm like, all right, yeah, they all right. And then y'all having success too. Y'all win the Maui. Y'all go down there, win the Maui. Y'all come back, y'all start getting ranked. And I'm like, sit up. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm going to a solid team. Like I knew they had a good program before, but again, I never really watched. I just heard about it. And so I'm saying like, okay, that's cool to be able to talk like this and have this conversation because, we never really interacted like that. But I just wanted to make sure I got you on here sooner than later, just because, like I said, you kind of passed the torch and I really watched, Dayton when you were, at your peak and playing like well. So just to you, man, like I appreciate, you hooping. I don't know if you ever feel kind of underrated a bit or anything, but I just wanted to be like, hey, no, I definitely recognized and how cold you were. And I'm like, yo, you made me hyped to get to UD for sure. So I just wanted to say that.
I definitely appreciate that because like I tell people, I'm like, yo, he was basically like my recruit. He came in, he was, I was a senior. He was, looking to come to the UD, sign. And, like that's the only way you can look at it is at least I had a guy that came behind me that I'm talking about started running with it, not, out there, because I ain't gonna lie, some guys that came in while I was there, I used to be like, well, y'all don't really want this. Y'all, they just kind of, they just happy to be there. And,
right.
I was happy to see that you wasn't that type of guy. You was, you was out there, seems like, again, because I wasn't there day to day, but it seemed like a gym rat, very focused. And the one thing I've always said about you is that, I could see the work when I watched you play. You know what I'm saying? It was never a time that I didn't see that you focused on your craft and playing the right way. And, I've always appreciated about your game. But I wanted to bring up when you said we won the Maui and being underappreciated in different things.
Yeah.
So I don't know if y'all know, I actually went to Maui twice. I went my freshman year and we went my senior year. Mm-hmm. So my freshman year, we don't have any games before this. This is my first collegiate basketball games. The first game we played Con, who was the number 12 team in the country. They got Talik Brown, Ron Butler, all those guys. Right. So we played them. We actually beat them. But I only played, I don't know, 7 minutes. I got me a bucket first half, but I ain't really play. So then our second game, we played the number 1 team in the country, Arizona, with Richard Jefferson. Who else was on the team? Luke Walton, Gilbert Arenas.
Was Jason Gardner on that team? Who was that point?
Jason Gardner.
Yeah.
Something right. Lauren Woods. Yeah. They had like nasty. 7 guys. Right. And mind you, Gilbert Arenas was like the 6th man at the time.
Yeah.
He ended up starting, but he was like the 6th man. I got in the game, scored a bucket, but still another like 6-7 minutes. Didn't really get no run. We ended up losing to them by, I don't know, like 14 or something. They was way nice. So now we're playing for the 3rd place game. We're playing the number 8 team in the country, which is the Maryland Terrapins with Juan Dixon, Steve Blake, Baxter, Wilcox.
Yeah.
Man, crazy. But we end up beating them, and we end up coming back being ranked the number 24th team in the country from that thing. So we had a great tournament that year. We didn't win it, but I always bring that up because even though we won it my senior year, I ain't gonna lie, I kind of take more pride in that first because of the teams we played.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I never really even knew that. Like I didn't know, y'all were down there, and OP was obviously still the coach, right? So he went twice in 4 years?
Well, no, the senior year was BG.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, that's right. Hey, speaking of, you go 3 years with OP. He seems to have his own personality, kind of more chill. Look like he can get on you, but smooth. Right. And then comes in for y'all like senior laden team. Y'all super experienced, right? And then they bring in Coach Gregory. Just touch on, I guess, the difference between, OP and BG and just how that last year went.
All right, I'm glad y'all asked me this because I think people really need to know, like, for real what happened on that situation. So when OP left, because we had such a great year my junior year, And
Right.
I have to throw this out here. I did get MVP of the A10 tournament when we wanted to.
You did?
Okay.
Yeah, trust me. That's in my notes over here. You know,
Yeah.
that was something that I had written down. I got a few
Right.
others, but yeah, go ahead.
And so we had such a good year that what ended up happening was University of Clemson, one of his services. And so you know how that goes. Things get leaked out or whatever. So we're literally sitting at the bar at Sloopy's. I know y'all know about Sloopy's.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And and so while we're watching TV, all of a sudden we see on the screen Oliver Purnell going to Clemson. So, we sitting at the bar like, whoa. Again, being young, not understanding the politics of things, we just mad right off top. Like, how you just go and just, do that. So fast forward, they tell us, now the president tells me, the AD tells me that Ron Jerser is pretty much going to get the job. Because that's who we are champion to get the job. Because, all the guys fool with Jerser. He was really the hands-on guy. He has head coaching experience. It just made sense. We already rolling. Why really blow this thing up, right? I'm talking about, I'm not even exaggerating. At the press conference, all of a sudden, when they say Brian Grego, we're like looking like who? You know what I'm saying? Like,
really?
Had no clue. So before, I forgot to tell you this, before Oliver Purnell left, after he had his little meeting with us or whatever, he called me to the office and he wanted me to leave with him and go to Clemson and sit out a year and play 1 year in ACC and help him build his program. That's the words that he had, And if I'm being honest, ball-wise, could it have been a better decision? Probably so, just because of the look. But at the time,
and coming back down, this area too, Clemson, not but a couple hours from
home,
Charlotte.
Yeah.
So that took something for you to go ahead and just ride it out, that last year. So.
But I'm a very loyal guy. And at this point, I feel like, this is my squad. They're giving me confidence that Coach Jerser now is taking over. So it's kind of like, this is my baby here. We good. We already, rolling. My guys, so it didn't feel like I needed to. Because at the time, the Knicks, the Grizzlies, and a couple other teams, they were kind of constant at practices, so I'm already kind of feeling like, I'm making a Bob Cousy list the following year. And, so I'm like, I'm good. I don't need to go nowhere.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you the difference. So he comes in, and you already know this was probably, all right, so the season over in March, April. So I say April, May that they bring him in. Y'all already know after the season, you get at least about 2 months or so where you just ain't got to do nothing. Yeah. You kind of volunteer, do things, but everything is pretty cheap. Yeah. This man comes, they announce him. He tells us, I want to say maybe the next day or 2 days later, that we had to be there at 5-something in the morning. So you already know. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, bro, this is my school. This is my team. Like, what is you talking about? Like, so I didn't show up the first one. It's the season over with, bro. Like, you tripping.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
right.
I'm kind of being rebellious, and I'm just not showing up. So I say after maybe the second or third workout that was, was supposed to be there, he had talked to Sean and Keith, and so they called me like, hey, Coach say he want to get with us in the morning. We're going to go jogging and this. I'm like, go jogging. So, at this point, I'm like, I'm not going to keep, doing all this. So we're going on a little jog, and we end up jogging to the little pancake spot. I don't know if y'all remember the pancake spot downtown. And we sat and had breakfast, and we just talked. And that was kind of like the time of kind of breaking the whole barriers between his expectations and, because I'm kind of explaining to him like, Coach, like, we need a break. Like, I understand y'all do things a certain way where you come from, because he came from Michigan State. He was the head assistant with Izzo. Right. And so needless to say, we didn't start off the best way, but we was able to get somewhat of understanding after that dinner. So, I bought in and started working with them, and no problem, because I don't never have no problem. I'm competitive. Once we get to working, I'm gonna do it anyway. So it is what it is. But the only issue that I had, like I told y'all earlier with Purnell, I ran offense. I was the one calling the plays. I knew who was hot. I knew where we needed to go. With Brian Gregory, we had 70 offensive plays. So I'm like,
we know too,
Coach. Like,
yeah, trust me.
Right.
That's why it's funny right now, because that I could understand kind of coming and trying to do that with a young team. Like if he did that my first year, which we had like 5 freshmen. So I could kind of understand maybe, coming and doing that then, because we didn't know any better. So we would have just been like, "Man, this is crazy," but all right, we just gotta do it.
Yeah.
D-Rob,
But
I had this.
But y'all was good for 3 years. You know what I'm saying? Doing whatever y'all needed to do, and then this comes in. It's just funny to hear you say that.
D-Rob, I had that conversation with him. I said, Coach, I said, I understand this is your first year, and so you want to kind of implement your imprint on the program. I get it. I said, but, and mind you, I'm not understanding that I'm this young 20-year-old, something years old, telling this guy how to run his program. You know what I'm saying? I'm not, it's not, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm like, don't you think it'd be smart that we allow us to just continue, and you're going to have a great year to start off, and then when you got your recruits and all you guys come in, then you implement your stuff. And I said, and also, and this was my biggest point, the B-Rob, I said, Nick, I was like, bro, I said, Coach, the plays that you had Mo Peterson, you had you had 7 All-Americans on the team. I said, we don't have Mo Peterson to be able to catch it on that wing and be able to make that shot, or be able to make that move.
Yeah.
I said, so me being and playing with these guys for several years, I know who can do what. So these plays that we're having, and then when I get the ball and I'm coming down, you're stopping me from the flow, and you're calling out a play and this and that. Our guys play better with a flow. We don't have set guys. So I'm trying to explain these things. We had no shooters. Again, I'm not trying to knock none of my guys, but the truth is just the truth.
Yeah.
So everything was predicated on either me trying to get a shot through double teams or us trying to throw it inside.
Yep.
We didn't have any wings. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to get him to understand if we flow, we can get easier buckets. You know what I mean? Obviously, he wasn't trying to hit that. We still was able to manage to get to the ATN championship game. We were still able to manage to win 20-something games and make it to the NCAA tournament. So we still had a pretty good year. But do I think that if we would have went about things a little differently, could we had a little more success? I do believe so.
But y'all was still successful, man. And I remember watching that DePaul game. Like I said, I was locked in all year at that point. That DePaul game was tough, and I know it was just
it was double overtime.
Nick,
overtime.
Not Nick.
Double overtime.
Nick.
Because Nick, you was on the team too. But did you travel?
Yeah, I
travel
came in that second semester.
Right. Now, Nick, I don't know if you remember this. So we went to double overtime in that game?
Yeah, double, triple, something like that. Yeah.
Right. So I kept telling BG, I don't know if you remember, we had a thing called salute. It was 1-4. I kept telling him, let's do salute, because I knew, because all the teams, my senior year, all the teams, Ben Nelson, all them guys would tell me on the court, Lionel Charm, all them, we're going to do nothing but W on pick and rolls. Get the ball out your hands.
Yeah.
So I kept telling him, I'm like, Coach, let's not do the high pick and roll, because they're going to do nothing but double me. Because I don't know if you remember, Nick, the first one, I just chucked up a shot over 2 of them, just trying to get a shot off.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because the first time
I
got past it.
He was going left.
Yeah. Now, and then the second time I got past it, I went right. But then the guy from the wing dropped in, and I had to dish it out to Monty. He had a good shot, but, he missed it.
Yeah.
But I was just like, Coach, stop bringing the guy to me. I just wanted him just to do a 1-4.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying? But that's the only thing I regret, that I just didn't wave off. I should have just waved off. And not saying that I would have made it or not, but I would have felt better with whatever result it would have been. But I just knew the pick and roll was not going to work. Like, I'm like, they're going to do nothing but double me.
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff that you described and talked about is just similar to my experience somewhat. Because, I remember, thinking about getting a pick, because all Xavier was going to do, or whoever, I'm coming off a pick, they're going to stay right there until I get the ball out of my hands. 100% what they were going to do. So, it should have just been, let me just operate, clear it. Don't set one. Let me just move, and then I'll kick it if they come double. It's a little bit better when there's not you just bringing the double team to you. But not just that, going back a little bit, you talked about being off the ball some growing up before you really took on that point guard role. Similar to me. Like, I played point guard a little bit in high school, but I wasn't like a true point guard like that. And then even getting to Dayton, we had, Trent Meacham. He was actually technically a point guard. When all 5 of us came in, I was just kind of like the combo 2 guard. And then obviously he ended up leaving his freshman year. So then that just left me as kind of like the league are. So I was thrust into it too. And, it's just crazy how, I guess, comparable now that I hear, kind of your story, just some of the similarities that, me and you have. And also Georgia. Like, that's why I said, let me go back to Jim Herrick and the whole Georgia thing.
Right.
So coming out, Georgia was one of the last schools that I was looking at. They ended up offering me too. And so I had my official visit to Dayton. And then I think the next week or the weekend after, I was set to go to Georgia and take a look at their campus. I didn't.
Oh,
That's one of the things that I do regret. I definitely regret not going down to, because I knew in the back of my mind that I was going to go to Dayton. One, BG's a good recruiter, and they brought a guy from Toledo on staff, Coach Mike Jack. Mike Jack, shout out to you, man.
Hold on,
but
Coach Mike.
Yeah, Coach Jack.
Yeah.
You know that was my guy.
Yeah. So I got cool with him. He used to coach up at Toledo, University of Toledo. And so he recruited me, coming out of St. John's a lot. So when I saw him at Dayton, I'm like, oh yeah, let's do that. But yeah, Georgia was next on the list, man. And I didn't really want to get involved with the whole Herrick stuff because they were going to end up being on suspension, I think, for the next 3-4 years where there was no postseason. And I tried to look past that, but at the end of the day, I'm like, I can't jump into this, man. I'm going to just be playing. Obviously, yeah, it is the SEC, but like, I'd rather go to Dayton and play, at that school and in that community and be a little closer to home. So I was like, I called BG. Yeah.
That would have been my senior year too at Georgia. Remember I said I wasn't feeling right about Jim? That would have been my senior year.
Oh, that's right. Man. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's what I'm saying. We get on here, we talk about all this stuff. The stories, we can't make this up, man.
Right.
This is crazy how parallel, this Flyer community thing can be, and just hearing your story, man, it's crazy. And so looking at your career, I saw you went and played overseas for 1 year. Is that right? You went over to the Netherlands?
Well, I was in the Netherlands for actually almost 2 years, and then I went to Germany for a little extent, and then I was in Russia for a little extent. So I didn't have the best experiences, I should say. The first year I was over there, our whole team, all the big men were hurt. So we just had nothing but guards.
Wow.
And I actually had a guy that was on my team in Maine that was another guard being named Tommy Gunn. We was playing well, but y'all know how it go. If you lose, it's the Americans' fault.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, Europe is no joke.
Right. So while I was in Holland, I actually got a call from Pernell, and he actually went through Coach Jersa, and he was telling me that at the time, I don't know if y'all remember when Chauncey Billups, I think that was the 04 squad. I think Lindsey Hunter maybe might have been the backup point guard, but they were looking for a new backup point guard the next year, and Larry Brown had contacted Purnell about me. So pretty much telling them like, all right, well, when he gets done, we're going to bring him in during the summer, whatever. So because we were losing, all of a sudden, my agent hit me and was like, it was certain things that just wasn't happening in my contract. Like my apartment wasn't all the way ready, different things. It was just different stuff that, I didn't really know how this went. I was just going to let my agent handle things. Yeah. And so make a long story short, all of a sudden my agent had threatened to pull me from playing, and they would still have to pay me for whatever the reasons was at the time. I feel it was just like, to me, when I look back on it, it was small stuff, but just things that just need to be in place. And so not knowing the politics of it, all of a sudden they called me in the office. Now, mind you, this is right before a game, so I have no clue what this is about. It ain't been no issues, nothing. And so they start reading off these different infractions, but the infractions that they're reading off are things that guys that I know on the team did. Like, so when they're saying it, I'm like, I said, well, you already know such did that, such like, because it was in front of the whole team. Like, this is not a hidden thing. Everyone knew who did what. And so I'm looking and I'm like, why are y'all saying this? Then it kind of clicked. I'm like, oh, this has nothing to do with because in the contract, if you have certain infractions, they can try to get out of the contract. Now, this is early internet. So now I'm dealing with former coaches and different people coming at me like, why are you over there doing this, and that? And I'm like, I'm not doing none of this stuff. They're trying to get out of the contract. But you already know, how when you're telling people this,
Yeah.
you can kind of tell
Yeah.
that they don't really believe you. They just like, yeah, all right. And I'm sitting here like, honestly, like I did none of this. They just trying to get out of the contract. And so again, trying to go to another stint here and then go there. And then in Russia, it was just terrible. I would never wish anybody to go up that way. But so it just got to a point where I was just like, God, is this not what I'm supposed to be doing? And if I'm being honest, like B-Rob, I wasn't a gym rat. But I was, I'm out. I was kicking it and, just living, because I never had anybody before me showing me what it was. A lot of my friends didn't get to my level. So, I'm just kind of just going off talent. And so I didn't really continue to work at it like I was supposed to. I just kind of got to a point where I was like, man, all these different stints I'm over here, they playing it. So I'm cool with this. And then I will say, because I had been doing so much partying, this and that, I kind of felt like as a man, like at that time, I ain't really know how to do nothing because, everything was done for you. You know what I mean? And
Right.
I definitely stopped way before I should have, but I just ended up just stopping and, just kind of, moving on to the next level of life. And it was just like, thank you, God, because at the end of the day, I got a scholarship and I technically, he gave me, I wanted to be a professional and I was. So technically I can't be upset about anything, I enjoyed every last bit of it. Of course, you always hindsight, you would tweak these things, do things differently. But at the end of the day, God gave me what I asked for. So, I'm not mad at all.
Yeah, man. Right. Yeah.
Nah, that's your career. Yeah, your career speaks for itself, man. You know what I mean? I know professionally, like you said, you knew what you were and you knew where you were at, and you was like, all right, I'm cool. I gave it what I did and moved on. So now you back in Charlotte. I guess, if you want to just kind of touch on what you've been up to. I checked your IG. You love your 3 babies, and just touch on, what it means for you as a father too.
Yeah, man. Once life after basketball, you're kind of searching, you kind of bounce around doing certain things. Always did things that in some way, shape, or form dealt with kids. So early on, I worked in different boys clubs, camps. I did things with mentally challenged kids, just anything that was kind of that same camaraderie of just being around the youth. At the time, I'm not gonna lie, I was very burnt out of basketball, so I would do, help out guys, some of my friends that were coaches, and I was assistant coach for different teams, but I kind of didn't really get into that because I got a lot of offers to actually help to come on coaching. But as you guys know, we know the life of that.
Yeah.
And if you're not really dedicated to doing that on the day-to-day, all day,
I agree,
that ain't me.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I knew I was not gonna be college coach, whatever coach. Like I'll maybe help train, like I train a little bit, or I'm helping my son's team, AAU, I do a little bit of that, but as far as kind of like higher level, like no, there's no way.
Yeah. So once I kind of figured, all right, I wasn't gonna do that, I just kind of, really, to be honest with you, I started to realize, like, I mean, I'm not one of those guys that can't handle my pride, so I will do whatever I need to do to, survive out here. But I started to realize, like, when you play basketball or sports all your life, there's a certain freedom that I wanted. And so at that point, I started, doing some of my entrepreneurial stuff. So I started a clothing line called Enigma 6 back in 2018. And, just kind of kept building off that stuff. So, that started doing pretty well. And then from there, now I have it's a non-emergency transport business. So basically, I can transport people from the hospital or people who need to go to adult daycares, people with dialysis, whatever it may be, wheelchair accessible, all those things. So I started that company. It's called WIM, which is an acronym, WIM, which is We in Motion. So I started that. And then I also started under the same thing, WIM, but it's WIM cleaning service. So, for his office buildings and different things like that. I have a crew that have a few buildings that we take care of. And so, the entrepreneur thing is where, I kind of went towards. And then don't get me wrong, I still do things with the mentally challenged youth at times. I'm a PRN at this one facility that I go in sometimes and help with them. But for the most part, that's what I'm doing now. And then everything else is, those kids, the boys just finished with basketball. My daughter, she's in gymnastics. So I think the boys going to start up either T-ball or a flag football now. And so my spare time, I'm, either helping them, develop in their whatever the endeavors they're trying to do. I just want to see them flourish in whatever they decide to do. And so, that's pretty much where I'm at with it on it now.
Got you, man. That's dope. Yeah, I wanted this platform, connect with, people like yourself, because we kind of forget once we leave and once we get out of these jerseys, man, we go on and do different things, and we have such a unique university where the fan base is not just in Dayton, but it's all over the country, man. Like me and you, we've been to the Davidson game. It's always full every time, man. Just a bunch of Dayton people here in Charlotte. So, if anybody in Charlotte, business wise, people might be able to connect with you on IG or something. Hey, I need my offices cleaned, or I need, this or that. Like that's part of, why I felt like this was important to do, because the fans would be willing to have conversations.
Right.
Because that's just how special the place is.
Yeah, we need to bring that together, because it is a big community of UD alumni here. Because even before Davidson, when UNCC was in the A10 at one point, I would come to the games and I would be amazed, like, damn, I didn't know this many people. And then you'd be amazed just riding around, seeing bumper stickers or whatever it may be, or people call me and say, hey, such and such that I work with, they said they went to Dayton and they was there around that time. And so we definitely need to, and we might need to work on getting some type of chapter here in Charlotte that people get together. And but I wanted to ask y'all.
I think there is. But yeah, we could. I think so. Yeah, we could talk about that. Figure that out.
What are you going to say, Ramod? You
definitely want to get with you on that. Okay. Well, I was going to say, how do y'all feel that the University of Dayton kind of welcomes or does a good job of welcoming past players? Do you feel they, make an effort for that, or do you kind of feel like once you're gone, oh well?
Obviously, I didn't have the careers like you and B-Rob had. I mean, you guys had stellar careers that people remember. But for me, I think what I appreciated about, Dayton, the fan base is nothing like I've ever seen before. We're not Kansas, we're not Carolina, we're not, those true blue blood programs, but, just the energy that those fans had for us was just something different, man, And so when you hear people mention Dayton, there's a sense of pride about it, for me, in regards to feeling connection to the school or the brotherhood. I do to my brothers, like B-Rob, you Ramod, and others that have gone through the program, even people before me and guys after me. You feel a connection. I don't know about the reach back or stuff like that. And, from an alumni standpoint, occasionally, yeah, but it's just different, I remember watching Jay Wright get inducted into the Hall of Fame, but I watched a bunch of his players come back. And I'd love to see, UD do something like that if they ever want to, where a bunch of guys just come back and just fellowship about Dayton basketball, Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you compare us to the Blue Bloods, like you said, Carolina, Duke, Michigan State, they're known for, when they're done playing, they got people lined up to, like, help you out. Kentucky, same way. They got people lined up, to what you need. Oh, okay, we can do this, we can do that.
Right.
So I feel like there's people that do sit in the stands that are, I think willing to do those type of things. Because, with the stuff that I have going on, I'm partnered now with a big time UD, donor, somebody that sits in the stands, super successful in what he does. And so me, after being up there in December, like, I knew I wanted to do something, because the love is still there. The atmosphere is still there. It just keeps getting better and better. And I felt like I want to be able to be like those Blue Bloods. I want to at least give a platform where I'm like, man, let's connect with guys that's been through here. Right. Like, let's see what they up to. And let's try to promote, UD, the Flyer community. And let's be similar in that regard, as far as, hey, let's set something up where we can have a coffee. See if what I have going can benefit you. You know what I mean? Let's, build that. And then whatever comes from it, comes from it. I'm not sitting here trying to match make, fans, and their businesses with, us as former players. But if it happens organically, perfect. Right. Because we got players that live all over. Like you here in Charlotte with me, but we got people in Arizona. We got people in, California, Denver. Chicago.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, we got players and fans everywhere. So if I
Right.
bring somebody on, we talk and, oh yeah, I'm playing Roots now in, you know, Philly. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sure there's Dayton people, somebody in Philly that watches, sees what somebody's up to. Oh, I didn't
Right.
know he was here.
Yeah.
Let me reach out to him. You know, maybe we can, you know, grab a lunch or whatever. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So I did feel like there was more that could be done, you know, from that front that you were talking about,
Right.
Ramod. So
And also a part that, and another reason why I asked is because I also felt like, and this is just my opinion, basketball wise, there's a lot of years that I felt like they didn't have anyone from the past teams a part of the team. So it kind of didn't feel like the tradition can continue to kind of, you know what I mean, keep it moving, because it's like, it's a lot of disconnect, because even though I know, Coach Grant played, it doesn't, you know what I'm saying? It had been a while before it had been somebody there. So it just kind of, to me, kind of felt like, you know, because when I went back, what was it, 2 years ago, you know, again, I'm in the locker room and I'm speaking to the guys, but I know they have no clue. So, you know, and it was just, and don't get me wrong, I have to just throw this out here, and I mean, I wouldn't be me, but Forrest, you asked me earlier about recognition. Now, I don't know how I'm not in the Hall of Fame yet.
That's why, you know, I wanted to ask, you know, I know you're not at the moment, but, you know, listen, like I said, I watched at least for about a year and a half. So, you know, I was like, oh yeah.
And mind you, and I'm happy, don't get me wrong, we have 2 guys already from my squad. Brooks and Keith is on there. And which, you know, deservingly so.
And Keith. Yeah,
absolutely,
out to
deservingly so. Both of my brothers, I'm glad they in there. But I'm like, come on now, you know,
Don't forget about number 3. Yeah, come on, please.
Right. If it's top, but I always said to myself, you know, like in anything, God's timing. So, you know, my kids are here now. So maybe God was saying, you know what, your kids need to see certain things. So, you know, I look at it that way. But, you know, if you're top 10 assists, finish top 15 in scoring, but I mean, I'm still top 20. We won a Maui championship, won an A-10 championship, and
the only team to win it. The only team.
Right. And now the only other caveat, Nick, you might remember this.
Go ahead.
When we was in Maui, right? You wasn't on the team yet, but right. But we won the championship, right?
Yeah.
And it's only 2 things, B-Rob. You know, certain things that you just feel like, hold up. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm happy, but I feel like I got robbed. I had 15 in the first game, 17 in the second game, and 27 in the championship game. In the Maui championship, and to get MVP. Now, we already know 9 to 5, it missed the double.
Yeah.
So you can't.
Keith,
So
right?
it's about like the Joker and SGA this year. You can't go wrong.
You can't go wrong. Nah.
But I'm like, if I have damn near 30 in the championship game now, come on now, y'all supposed to give me that one. So that's what made the A-10 championship the MVP sweet, because
MVP,
when they called my name, I'm not gonna lie, I was surprised because I'm used to hearing another name. So when they said my name, I kind of like just looked, and I'm like, hold up, they just said my name, and you know. It was good. And then the one other thing before I get off, because I always have to give Coach Chaney his respect, rest in peace. After we played them in the championship game and we beat them, he was doing his press conference and we were literally sitting over to the side waiting on him to finish. But, you know, we obviously could hear what he was saying. And they were asking him questions, and they was bringing up Jameer Nelson, they were bringing up Delonte West, they was bringing up other guys. And I remember him saying, hold on, guys, like, y'all ask me questions about everybody else, but y'all ain't saying nothing about this Ramod Marshall. Like, this guy has a higher winning percentage than everybody in the league. He just went through this tournament. He's MVP, this, and that. Like, and I remember thinking to myself, like, he was the first felt like had went to bat for me that way. And I just always appreciated him doing that. So I just wanted to say that because, you know, that was something that I always appreciated. And, you know, that was from a legend. And, you know, I just something that always stood out to me.
That's fire, man. Yeah, he's a legend, a titan of the game, man. Not just in Temple, but just basketball, not just college either, just basketball in general. So that's major, man. That's major. Nick, what you got anything else, man?
No, I mean, we touched on a lot of things, man. It was a great conversation.
We did,
Ramod, it's good to see you, brother. I'm glad you're doing well. You know, it's been a long time.
Absolutely.
But I hope this continues. I hope we get more guys that, you know, communicate and we just stick together. I really do like this.
Right. Because, I mean, we never would have known, you know, some of the story. Like, I wouldn't have known none of this. You know, we probably talked maybe once or twice, you know, at most, you know what I'm saying? So I
I heard maybe 50 words out of your mouth, and now to see you and to hear your story like this, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, this
Right.
is what this is about, man. So,
Yeah.
shout out to you, man. I appreciate you jumping on,
Yes.
and we'll do this again, man. And we'll
Absolutely,
link up
absolutely.
too. Now,
And I'm not gonna be no stranger. You guys not be no stranger again. I really appreciate y'all having me on here.
Mhm.
This is some good shit that you're doing, bro. I like the fact that you,
Yeah.
you know what I
Thank you,
mean.
man.
That
Thank
you
you, Doc.
getting, the behind the scenes of this flyer thing. And I think a lot of guys have some good stories, and you giving them that platform for that, man. And so again, gracious for that, Nick.
Mhm.
Good seeing you as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
again, I just want to say appreciate you guys. And anytime y'all want me on, anytime y'all want to talk about anything.
Mhm.
Let me know. I'm here.
I appreciate it.
Got you, bro. Ma, I appreciate you,
Yeah.
man. Have a good one, Doc.
All right, man. Y'all be good, man.
Yeah.
That was some good stuff, man. That was a
Mhm.
great story. Like we
Absolutely.
talked about a whole lot. We talked for like an hour, man.
Stuff.
So yeah, for sure. But Nick, I'm not gonna hold you anymore, man. But
Yeah.
appreciate you jumping on, man, as always.
Absolutely, bro.
All right, I'll see you,
All right,
man.
man. Yep, later.
Wow, this was a big time episode here. I appreciate Ramod for just telling his story, his side of things, and just his experiences. Like I said, I never really knew some of those things at all. Like even reaching out to him, I knew I wanted to get him on. We have a lot of similarities with at least our journeys and some of the stuff that we went through. So again, appreciate him. Salute to him. And obviously Nick again for joining in, and we back to it. We are back. So when the season's gonna come to an end, and then listen, we're just gonna start pumping out episodes. So again, I appreciate you guys. Frequent Flyer with B Rob. Episode 4 is in the books, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.